Because I know some people go to the dojo and they use Aikido, you know, more of a recreational thing, like Tai Chi.
I wake up in the morning and do that all the time.
And we worked on this technique. We worked on it, worked on it.
I said, get another job. Stop that, dude. You're coming in too many times. Is Aikido still relevant? Does it still work?
It is. Definitely is relevant. But it depends on certain factors. There's certain things you need to change in order to keep it relevant in Aikido, which is what we've tried to do over the years. So today, we're going to have a look at this. 5 things I feel.
The top 5 things.
Top 5 things.
Okay.
Okay. First one, which a lot of people in Aikido don't do. I've trained in quite a few Aikido dojos. And one of the things which they very rarely do in most dojos is use this here, boom. They don't implement strikes. You know, they don't use fists, they don't use elbows, they don't use kicks or anything like that. They don't implement those things. And I feel like in order to make it relevant, you need to implement those things.
Why is it so important?
Because,
why do you need to strike?
You know, it all really depends on what you're using Aikido for. Because I know some people go to the dojo and they use Aikido, you know, more of a recreational thing. You know, they want to, you know, it's almost like they see it like Tai Chi. You know, they want to use it to keep fit, you know, get flexible, stuff like that. But
what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I love that Tai Chi stuff.
But
I wake up in the morning and do that all the time.
It's like your 3-finger press-ups, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the last video, by the way.
Yeah, that's all well and good. But I started training Aikido simply because I always felt like I wanted to protect myself and protect my family, my loved ones. And especially being a bouncer, Aikido was perfect for performing restraints and stuff like that. You know, you tried to avoid punching and kicking people, so it was ideal for what I did. Implement punches, elbows, kicks, and use those strikes. You have to use them. And that's what in a lot of our dojos they do not do.
Show me quickly the implementation of that.
Okay, so for example, let's say...
So show me what the difference is without it and the difference with it.
Now, Shiinagi, like we always practice it from like someone throws like a big hook at you, and there's 2 things we would do. We would either, someone throws a hook, we'd either step in, okay, to block that, or we would absorb, okay? Now, Shiinagi is a very long-winded technique, okay? Now, if I want to buy myself time in order to perform that technique, what better thing to do as that punch comes, I boom, and I give a nice elbow here. And that gives me an extra 1 second, second and a half to then perform the rest of the technique and do what I need to do. It buys me time. In any technique, all those strikes buy you time. You know, even if I look at Nikyo, let's say someone grabs me, and to grab me and their aim is to pin me down and throw a punch at me, okay? I could either, you know, take that punch, or as soon as they grab, I could strike, boom. And then I'm here with, I could put a nice lock on and form a nice Nikyo, okay? It's just about giving me the extra second or 2 to perform those techniques, which is so important because some techniques can be quite long-winded in Aikido, and it just buys you time.
What's the second one?
Okay, number 2 is, now I remember I like going to different Aikido dojos, and the unfortunate thing about having the YouTube channel is that they all kind of know us because Aikido is quite niche and most of the people who do Aikido would have watched our videos. So I'd like to go into dojos and just train. You know, I like to learn from other people, see how they do things, because there's so many variations.
You mean like undercover, like a kind of
yes.
Batman? You want to be a Batman character?
Well, yeah. You know, the reason why I want to do it that way is because what happens is you walk to a dojo and they know you.
Batman.
They have. Yes, I walk in and say, I'm Batman. When you go into a dojo, they have an expectation of you, and they feel like, you'll train and you'll ask questions. So how do you do this, blah, blah, and they'll be like, well, look, you know how to do this, just do it your way. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do it my way, I want to do it your way. I want to learn from you how you do this technique, because we're always learning. But the problem is a lot of dojos don't give you the room to experiment. They don't let you be flexible in your ways. Like, it's almost like you come across people you train with and they'll refuse to submit to your technique. They'll go out of their way to kind of really stop you because they can predict what you're about to do.
Yeah.
And they say, no, you're not putting your foot right. You need to put your foot here instead and blah, blah. And then when you do it the way they've told you, then suddenly they go all loose and the technique seems to suddenly miraculously work, where I know that I could have made it work my way, but the only thing is that you're anticipating everything I do and purposely going out my way to stop me from performing that technique. And unless you do it their way, it's the wrong way. They want to keep it so traditional. We need room to experiment. For example, I remember I had an incident in a club. And I'm not sure if you remember this. I had a situation where I had this guy and I had him like this. And I'm trying to take him down. And he's pulling down, I'm pulling back. He's pulling down, I'm pulling back. And it's not working. And in the end, I had to get on my mic, call more security came, we got him out. Now, remember, I came back to the dojo the next day and I said to Jason, listen, this is what happened. You know, how can we combat this? And we worked on this technique. We worked on it, worked on it.
I said, get another job. Get another job. Stop that door work. You're coming in too many times.
But listen, look, I think it was because of Aikido that helped me do the door work, you know? It's what made me enjoy the job. But then I remember we discussed this technique and we came to the conclusion that what I was doing wrong is that from here, it was just a case of a circle and turning my body round. And that's what made the technique much more effective. That's what made it work. But it took us about an hour to come up with that, of going over this technique over and over again before we understood what I did wrong. And it was so nice being able to have the flexibility to experiment in our dojo and have the freedom to, which is what a lot of dojos don't let you do. You have to do it a specific, structured way. But in our dojo, we were allowed to experiment, which helped us come to that conclusion and helped us adapt that technique. Okay, the third reason, okay, some techniques are too long-winded and they're too unrealistic. I understand why they're that way, because you want everybody to learn the principles of all the movement, of all the long stuff and everything, but there are shorter ways of doing it. You know, I remember Tenshinagi, we would do this thing where we come all this heaven and earth, blah, blah, blah. But Tenshinagi is basically just a clothesline. And you can do it slowly, you can do it quickly. But a lot of the techniques are just too long-winded and they need to just be abbreviated so they're a lot more effective and you can perform them a lot quicker. Fourth reason, ground techniques. In Aikido, we don't really do many ground techniques. We do some training on our knees and stuff like that. But what happens when you get thrown to the ground? What happens when someone's pinned you down the ground, they're on top of you, and they want to just hold you down and pound you? You know, that's where jiu-jitsu comes in. Aikido needs to start stealing. You know what I'm saying? We need to be thieves, steal some jiu-jitsu stuff and implement it in our Aikido, because a lot of people who do Aikido, they don't know what to do when they get thrown down to the ground. And if you're practicing it for being a real situation, you need to know what to do when you're on the ground. The fifth reason, these. Okay, we need to throw in some punches, kicks. We need to learn how to punch, how to kick, because as I said before, that buys you time. But even if you don't want to implement, you need to be versatile in all your martial arts. I'm thinking about a scenario where you're surrounded by more than one attacker and you don't want to start doing throws and have your back to somebody and stuff like that. Sometimes you need to just be able to just throw a good punch or a good kick. It is just to keep somebody back, keep your distance with someone, use your legs to keep distance between you and your attacker. You need to learn how to do that. In Aikido, they don't teach that. And I feel like that's something we need to learn to do. It would also keep us flexible as well.
Okay, don't forget, anybody that is looking to up their game in there within the London area, don't forget Azu is doing one-to-one training, which means that it's just going to be you and them that is absolutely the way to go if you really want to really get good. Learn from the master.
We've got our online academy as well.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Oh.
You didn't know about that,
No,
did you?
I didn't know about
Well, you better subscribe.
I'm going to do that as soon as I get home back tonight.
Yeah, you'll learn all our techniques, you know, the dojo way and the street way. So, in conclusion, like, Aikido is still very relevant. It's still very relevant, but it could be made more relevant in the way you train, the things you do when you train, how you train, and the things you implement in it. There's so many things. We've mentioned 5, but there are so many more things that can be done, can be implemented in Aikido in order to make it that much more effective. But, you know, as long as you keep training and you're given the room to experiment, you'll come to these conclusions yourself anyway, and you'll know what's effective. It's all about that pressure testing. So I hope this helps, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.